everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Trailer Park. Not sure where Beth is at this point. And apologies for being late. Apparently Beth and I are old and we fall asleep before we do shows, and I'm pretty sure Beth is still asleep. So, we suck. But apparently we have a brand shiny new lawyer in the house. So congratulations, Miss Morgan, for passing the bar this week.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I passed the DC bar. I'm still waiting to see if my score is high enough to transfer into Tennessee. So waiting to get that raw score back, and hopefully it is. And if not, then it's fine. I'll probably end up taking the Mississippi bar then in that case. So I'm hoping I transferred into Tennessee, because then I can at least get reciprocity into Mississippi in 5 years. But
so let me get this straight. They require a lower score for DC than they do for Tennessee.
Yes, they decided that. So for DC, I believe it is a 266 is the passing score, and Tennessee requires a 270. So I'm really hoping I didn't get a 268. So yeah, I'm really hoping that's not the case, or else I just have which, I mean, I still have a law license, so that's still good. But yeah, I'm hoping to still at least be able to transfer it into Tennessee for the time being, and then I can also transfer that score into other states as
right.
Depending on what score I got.
I would have thought that the nation's capital would have required a slightly higher standard than Tennessee.
Well, Tennessee just accepted multi-state. That's the whole reason why I took it in DC, because I was going to take the Tennessee bar, but I of course procrastinated, and I would have been on time to turn in my stuff, because Tennessee, for some reason, they don't open their application till much later than everybody else has pretty much already closed their bar exam application. So yeah, so I was still waiting to get my stuff together, and then I heard a rumor that, hey, Tennessee might be doing multi-state. And so I was like, okay. So I considered that, but then when Tennessee announced it, what I did was I was like, okay, well, I don't want to just take the Tennessee bar exam and just be licensed in Tennessee. If I could have easily taken a multi-state, and then that way I could have, been licensed in Tennessee and possibly gotten licensed in other places as well. So I looked for a place that was still open for taking bar exam applications at that point, and I think there were 2 places left. DC was one of them, and I think the other one was something like Connecticut or something random. So I was like, well, guess I'm going to DC to take the multi-state, and I'll just transfer my score back. And Tennessee at that point had not yet decided what score they were going to take as passing, but they did decide last month that they will take a 270.
Okay. Out of what is that?
I actually have no idea. So yeah, all I cared about was if I passed.
You at least got a 266. Other than that, you're like, well, I don't know.
I don't know. I know at least I got a 266, hoping I got a 280 or something. Because I think that the state, weirdly, I think the state that requires the highest score that does multi-state is Alaska. Which is interesting, because there's actually no law schools in Alaska.
I was gonna say I don't remember that being a thing up there, but
yeah, Duke University, I believe, actually does the Alaska Law Journal, because there's no law schools in Alaska.
Yeah, is there even universities in Alaska? Or
there are, but no law school.
Okay,
which is
I could see that. Yeah, I have no idea what the process is here, but I do
might be more similar to England. I would
imagine so, because our attorneys still wear the robes in
barristers, yeah,
but we call them lawyers.
Oh, okay.
We call them lawyers, but they dress like barristers.
Okay. Yeah. When I was in England and I saw that, I was like, there is no way. There is absolutely no way I would be wearing a powdered wig. I couldn't take myself seriously. I could not argue if I was wearing a powdered wig, my George Washington looking ass up there in court. Like, what are we doing?
Well, do you remember when we did the Masterpiece Bakery and I showed you the picture of our Supreme Court and they were all wearing the Santa suits?
Yeah, that I like. And isn't there a mascot for your Supreme Court? Like the owl or something?
I don't know about that, but we have a logo. But no, now see, our lawyers don't wear the wigs. So I just Googled Canadian lawyer and I'll show you. And in case people are wondering, yes, I find this fascinating, but I'm also hoping Beth is going to wake up and show up any second.
Okay, so it's just like the robes.
Yeah, they have to wear the robes and like the little cravat thing. Oh,
it looks like they're about to eat lobster, like with the napkins, because it's a cravat. But
those are the Ontario Workers' Compensation lawyers, but they only have to wear the robes in court. So these pictures where they're walking around in the street in their robes, it's probably some kind of ceremony or something that they're on their way to a court. I don't know, but they all kind of remind me they're dressed like Judge Judy, kind of.
Yeah, they are, yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, we just wear like suits and stuff.
Yeah, but here, while I've got the screen up, let's do Canadian Supreme Court.
Yeah, because they do look quite festive. Our Supreme Court, especially now, just looks very. Yeah, they look like Santas.
Yep. Now again, those are their official court robes, but yeah.
Yeah, I would feel very jolly going and presenting arguments there. Right. Yeah, there's the owl. Yeah, I knew they had like some kind of mascot or something.
Yeah, we've got the Supreme Court of Justice owl mascot.
I love it.
Which makes it, I mean, it would have been kind of cool if it was a scholarly looking beaver, I suppose. But
I would have, yeah, a scholarly beaver would have been nice. And if we could have had one, each country has their own thing. Ours could be like a bald eagle or something.
Yeah.
It could just be like Sam the Eagle, the Muppet.
And that's our spiffy Supreme Court logo.
It's very fancy. It looks like a nice hotel logo.
I'm guessing that this is the foyer in the Supreme Court building because it's like a marble inlaid floor thing, mosaic kind of deal. So, but yeah, we're just kind of cool that way.
Yeah, see, our Supreme Court right now has some awful people on it, so, you know.
It does. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that woman, holy crap, breaks a rib and she's back at work 2 days later.
Did you see the theory that, like, so apparently that was Kavanaugh, the same day she broke her ribs is the same day Kavanaugh got formally invested, I guess is the word. So they were like taking pictures when like Trump and Melania were there and everybody, and then they were like all taking pictures together with Kavanaugh and stuff. And it was like all the Supreme Court justices, and somebody said, wait, did Ruth Bader Ginsburg break her ribs so she could get out of this photo?
Hey, why not?
I mean, big mood, to be honest. Same.
The one I saw was it was a meme says science says that the first person to live past 150 is probably already born, and somebody's like, please let it be Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
I know. I'm just like, keep eating your kale and doing your workouts and stuff that she was doing. And I haven't seen the documentary yet, but I've seen clips from it. Like she's with her trainer. And I was like, oh my God, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's personal trainer is like probably the most important person in the country right now. And we just don't even realize it.
I think so. And Triss, hi Triss. They said RBG be like, you ain't licked me yet, you son of a bitch. And they also said they're very proud of you. So there you go.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
But yeah, it's kind of scary. But and then, you know, President Bone Spurs can't even go outside in the fucking rain.
Oh, yeah, that was a whole thing. I love how Colin Kaepernick, when he kneels at, during the anthem, which has nothing to even do with the troops. They're all like, "Oh, that's so disrespectful of the troops," but then Trump won't go out in the rain to commemorate like the 100th anniversary of World War One ending, and people are like, "Oh, this is fine."
I know. And apparently
Yeah.
he went golfing in the rain instead.
Yeah, well, no, well, he has gone golfing in the rain. I don't know if that's what he did instead. Because instead, I heard that actually what he was doing was he was like up in his hotel room just watching Fox News and tweeting.
Well, that's
His favorite thing. Which I'm like, even if I were like in some unholy world where I was president, like I would be like, what a cool opportunity to go to something like that and do that, like I wouldn't want to be up in my hotel room like tweeting about nonsense. Like y'all would never see me on Twitter if I was the president. I'd be busy.
You could have somebody else tweeting on your behalf, but
yeah, exactly. And then he was like, and then he was tweeting stuff where he was like, yeah, I'm on the side of a natural disaster in California, essentially, being like, oh, we're going to pull federal aid. And I don't think he realizes that California, I think by itself is the third largest economy in the world. So if they decided to stop sending money to the federal government, like I think they would be fine and they wouldn't need your funds, boo. And the Pasadena Fire Department actually responded to him and said, yeah, it has nothing to do with poor forest management. Like maybe you should learn some facts before you even start to even blame people.
They also said that the forestry stuff was federally managed in California.
I mean, a lot of the federal government does manage a lot of that stuff in California, but even then, it's like also even if poor forestry management is what caused the fire, which it isn't. Trump cut a lot of money specifically that goes to forestry management, so that would be him that has done that, and we do need to fund our forestry management better. But the people that are in those jobs are doing
his aversion to any kind of environmental protection.
Yeah,
it's not helping. Ugh, it's gross. But, just for fun, this is what our Supreme Court building looks like.
Oh, it's cute.
It looks like a little castle or something.
It does. It does look like a castle.
And there they are in their little Supreme Court bench. And
they look like they're about to give out presents. Like they really do.
Come here, little boy. We've got something in the sack for you.
We got an Xbox. It's like best day at court ever. Usually this doesn't happen.
Well, up here it's probably a toboggan and a toque. or a magic carpet, maybe, but
yeah, I supposedly I don't think I'm going to be actually doing any of the arguing or anything, but I've got my first trial I'm working on. It goes to trial December 3rd, but I don't think my judge is going to be looking like Santa, so
no, probably not. But
it'd be a lot more fun if you did.
It would. See, that's the difference though, is like ours don't wear the wigs the way they do in England.
Yeah.
So, but they'd be kind of cool. Like you'd have to get your own wig, right? So
yeah, you do, and apparently they're really expensive because when I was over at Cambridge, they were telling us like the differences between barristers and U.S. attorneys and all that kind of stuff, trying to explain that to us. And they were saying basically you have to like buy the wig and the hat and stuff, and it's actually pretty expensive. I can't remember how much it is, but
it would be, knowing what I know of English culture, it would be considered a very prestigious thing to own. So they probably have specific wig makers that
they do.
Yeah, that you can only get them from like a specific bunch of people, and yeah, so they got a monopoly, I would imagine, or
I
close
still
to it.
couldn't take anybody seriously in a wig in court. Like I said, I would be like, I'm sorry, are the founding fathers here? Like, what's going on?
When they like back in the 40s and 50s, when they still had capital punishment, they literally would throw like a piece of black cloth on their head to pronounce the death penalty.
Yeah, I do remember
Which
hearing something about that.
is kind like, I get that it's steeped in centuries of tradition, but it seems really kind of silly and disrespectful to me. Like, I'm gonna sentence you to death, and in order to do that, I have to put this black thing on my head because, tradition.
Yeah, other than yeah, they don't do that. They just
Oh,
are like, oh no, they don't do the black cloth thing here. They just are like, yeah, the jury just either sentences you to life
yeah.
in prison or death.
I've seen enough true crime videos that I've seen a number.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like,
still,
they're basically like, you are a waste of oxygen, and now we're going to kill you.
yeah,
You
it's
suck.
fucking
You,
dark.
yeah, yeah. Some of them though, I can sympathize with how the judge, is reacting, but
Yeah,
yeah.
well, here we do. I know that in Mississippi, it's the jury
Mm,
really is the one who, I mean, I think that's how it is in like all states that still have the death penalty. It's where the judge, of course, announces the sentence, but you have the jury decide whether you get the death penalty or
yeah.
not.
And you have like what they call the penalty phase.
Yeah, you have a penalty. You have, yeah, it's basically you have the penalty or the sentencing phase. If you have the possibility of a death sentence, if the prosecution is seeking that.
Yeah, because it's up to the jury to decide, if their shitty life should have any bearing on what they did, and if so, how much, and all that. See, up here, well, number one, we don't have the death penalty. And so a lot of our major crimes, like first degree, second degree murder, etc., they have set penalties to them.
Hmm.
So it's like, if you're convicted of that, like, there's really only maybe one or two things that you could get.
Yeah,
And
we have something similar with like the mandatory minimums here, which happened a lot with like obviously the drug crimes and led to like America's mass incarceration problem, but where it was literally the judge's hands were essentially tied behind his or her back because it was just like, oh well, I have to basically give you this sentence, according to the law. Like I don't have any leeway, and I was just like, well, what the hell is the point of
yeah,
the judge?
what our judges do is we tend to they decide if there's going to be parole, and if so, after how many years.
Ah, interesting.
And we have something called the dangerous offender designation. So, for instance, Paul Bernardo, the famous serial killer, has
Yes.
been given the dangerous offender designation, which means basically he sits in jail as long as the Crown decides he sits in jail.
Okay.
He has no specific sentence. I think he has to stay there for a minimum of 25 years or something because he was convicted of murder. But as far as parole or anything else, like,
If
he
the government doesn't want to give it to him, they don't have to. Like it's not up to some kind
yeah,
of independent parole board kind of
that's right.
system.
Like, he actually just had a parole hearing, and big surprise, was denied.
Already.
But
Yeah, it's like kind of how Charles Manson was up for parole all the time, but that's just because of how the sentencing happened to work. Because it was not the best time to have abolished the death penalty for that short amount of time. Because I don't know if you remember, but there was a whole bunch of serial killers who happened to have their trials like right then, right after they had abolished the death penalty for that
yeah,
short amount of time, and it was like, I'm against the death penalty, but this does not look good for us. us, because you have all these people like Charles Manson who, are squeaking in under that. And I think that really led to like it being, reinstated for a lot of people because there were so many high profile cases that year. But
Yeah.
yeah, so he would technically be up for parole, but it's like as soon as you see that bitch's name, you're like, oh hell no, put him back, put him back.
And Bernardo is totally like that here, which he was far more prolific as a rapist.
Yeah,
but the killings were so heinous that he's like, way up there in the annals of hideous Canadian killers. And of course, our Willie the pig farmer's up there too.
Oh, yeah, that. I listened to a series on him, and it was something. I was just like, damn, there's a lot going on up in Canada that.
Well, and then also, the colonel who got busted, 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. He flew the fucking queen. Like he was that high up in our military.
But I knew he was like high ranking, but
he was in charge of one of the biggest military bases in the country.
Oh, yeah. I remember my parents like watching a 2020 thing about that, I think once. Yep. And I haven't really like looked into the case, but I do know that like there was this guy who was in the Air Force in Canada and he was a total creep.
Oh yeah. He killed 2 women, and raped some, and he would break into people's houses and take pictures of himself in the women's lingerie.
Oh, like that's so scary. Like you're just like breaking into like people's houses and then like wearing their clothes. Like there's something about that that's so creepy to me. That's just like, oh, now I'm not only did I break into your house and like do this horrible thing to you, but now I'm gonna take a picture of myself wearing your clothing. Like it kind of reminds me of the Richard Ramirez.
Yes.
The original Night Stalker.
Yes.
Or not the original Night Stalker. That's one that just got he's just the Night Stalker.
The Night Stalker, yes. Yeah. But yeah, he was Russell Williams, Colonel Russell Williams. So there you go, just because you had to see that.
Oh my God.
Those are actual photos he took of himself.
It was like after he broke into these houses?
Yep. I just clicked on it.
This is
No, I don't need to watch a video. It was just like, I don't know, I clicked on it by accident. But yeah, so yeah, he would go through their lingerie and
that's so scary, especially because he was like, so like, people would have trusted him and stuff too. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Like I said, he was the guy, like when the Queen made an official visit to Canada, he was the guy that would fly the plane with her.
Yeah, that's really
so scary. I wonder if Her Majesty knows that she's flown with a serial killer.
Probably makes a great tea time story, I'm sure.
Charles, do you remember that time we flew with the serial killer who liked to wear women's panties? Anyway, so again, I guess Beth fell asleep. I tried to text her, wake her up, but hopefully she'll show up soon because Morgan and I know a little bit about Amway and stuff, but this was kind of Beth's gig. So yeah, that's what happens though when I fall asleep too early to remind her to set an alarm and stuff. So but anyway, so we have the interwebs who can teach us things, which is good. So I've heard of Amway for years. Have you heard of Amway?
Yes, I have, but I sort of got I've heard of Amway through just sort of like other multi-level marketing companies that I've heard of more, or like Mary Kay and that kind of thing. Plexus, Young Living, doTERRA right now is really popular. You know, the essential oils MLMs are very popular right now.
It's
Unique.
interesting. I went and there's a list on Wikipedia of MLMs. There's
It's
stuff on
crazy.
here I would have never thought. Avon.
Avon is an MLM. Yes, Avon.
And when you say that, it kind of like, oh yeah, I guess.
Tupperware as well. Tupperware was a big one.
Yes.
Pampered Chef.
Herbalife.
Herbalife is another one of those like essential oil companies, I think.
It's a weight loss.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's weight. A lot of them are weight loss, because I know there's another one where I think it's just called It Works. And it's literally, I've seen people sell it on my newsfeed and stuff. A lot of people use social media to sell these products and to really ultimately sign people up under them, which is the whole point of an MLM. But what it is it's literally a wrap that you wrap around your body, and supposedly it makes you lose weight. But also this company will sell diet pills and things like that. And it's just, which is bananas, because it's literally like a thing of saran wrap that you wrap around yourself, and supposedly it makes you lose weight. And so I guess we should talk about what a multi-level marketing company is.
Interesting. Yes, we should. But guess who else is on the list?
Who?
Nexium.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We did kind of talk a little bit about that, how they were sort of branding themselves this corporate leadership company. And it was like you supposedly were supposed to bring in more people. And that's kind of what an MLM is. So an MLM is kind of, they'll tell you it's not a pyramid scheme, but essentially it is a pyramid scheme. So that's basically someone at the top tells you.
Oh, sorry. Is a MLM the same as a pyramid scheme, though? Because I thought one was legal and one isn't.
See, there's an interesting distinction, and it's a distinction without really a difference.
Okay.
So it kind of, multi-level marketing is, I mean, if you think about it, when you draw the shape, it ends up in a triangle. So I'll just say that. So, yeah, so. That people will tell you. They'll say that, oh, well, this isn't when they're trying to approach you these, so-called opportunities, they'll be like, oh, well, no, it's not a pyramid scheme, because those are illegal, is what they'll say all the time. But I'm going to get into why that's not. Well, yes, pyramid schemes are illegal. There's, reasons why these companies aren't gone after. So basically these multi-level marketing companies, what they are is they have people, a lot of these will sell something. So say we'll take the example of Mary Kay. And Mary Kay sells makeup. So you basically you go to Mary Kay, and usually somebody will recruit you, but you buy basically the starter kit, right? So, and then they'll tell you you buy the starter kit. It's a lot of these starter kits are about $90 or so. You buy it, and then you try to basically sell. So a lot of people will use social media to sell the products and things like that. But really, the goal isn't necessarily to sell the products, but it's to recruit people to sell the products under you. So you have somebody that you're selling the products for, supposedly. They're called your upline, and then you have your downlines, which are the people that are below you. So essentially, yeah, you get into this whole thing, but eventually, as you know, you're eventually going to run out of people to recruit. The people that you recruit have to recruit people, and then those people recruit people, and so on.
If you recruit everybody who are you going to sell to?
Exactly. So the reason that a lot of these companies even bother with selling products is there's actually, I'm listening to a really great podcast series. If you're interested in this kind of thing, I highly recommend it. It's called The Dream. And we're just going into sort of the history of a lot of these MLMs, how they are legal. They do go more in depth into the FTC, the Amway case, and a few other cases before that, and kind of why the government has kind of left these bigger MLMs alone. So yeah, and just why, kind of exploring why people join them, and how, people get into this sort of crazy debt with them. So with Amway specifically Amway is so famous because it is one of the biggest ones, and it was actually Amway the FTC, where the FTC actually ended up losing.
Oh,
So what had happened was, before, there was the FTC was going after these companies, and then actually before this, there was a game called the Airplane Game that was really big, and I think it was the 80s, may have been also late 70s. So it was like, oh, you can get like $10,000 just by like telling people about this airplane game thing, where you get people to give you $1,000, and then they find people to give them $1,000, and so on and so on. And the idea was, oh, well, we all make all this money. But then people who are obviously late to the game end up not being able to make that money back, right?
right.
So, and then some people would be able to play the game multiple times who were in on it early. And the dream talks about this, and how like the IRS, kind of got in there and was like shutting it down, because it obviously is a scheme, as it's literally a pyramid scheme. That's more of what a traditional pyramid scheme is. But
So like a pyramid would be less likely to have a tangible product that you can kind of put your
yes.
finger on.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So, yes, I think that is what they would say the distinction is, because with
Okay.
this other company called Holiday Magic, which, look up the guy, I forget his name, but the guy who had Holiday Magic was absolutely wild bananas. So this guy, they talk about him a lot on The Dream. He would have these basically these very Tony Robbins-esque sessions with his the people, and that he would make them go to these corporate meetings and things like that. And of course, they wouldn't be paid for it, but you were expected to, even if you just worked for the company, not necessarily doing the direct selling. You're expected to go to these things, and they would like put you in coffins and all kinds of crazy banana shit.
William Penn Patrick.
Yes.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
He
He was
leadership dynamics and mind dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
Proponent of the sour grapes philosophy, quoted as saying, "Those who condemn wealth are those who have none and see no chance of getting it."
Yes, exactly. And that's one of the cornerstones of this whole thing, which, I mean, to some of our listeners, I'm sure will remind them of the prosperity gospel.
I was gonna say, it sounds like The Secret to me.
It is a lot of that. So it's this whole thing where, and also I've noticed that MLMs are kind of unique to these more super capitalist countries. Like there are some in the UK and there are some in Australia, but I've noticed that there is a lot in the United States, and there are a ton in Utah. Utah actually has more headquarters than of MLM companies per capita than any other place in the world.
I have read numerous times in my perusal of Mormonism that MLMs are huge in Utah.
Yeah, and there's some reasons for that, which I'll get into. But yeah, so Holiday Magic was one of the companies that FTC went after, and basically they said that there's, market saturation, which happens, when you run out of people to recruit. In order to show it was a pyramid scheme, there was vertical pricing, which is where, the pricing set, you can't, and basically you can't change the pricing. It's this all over the place. And so, yeah, so there was that going on, and basically the market saturation, though, was their biggest thing to show that this is a pyramid scheme, right? So FTC won that case, and then they went after Amway. Now, Amway had been around for a few years longer, and this was in the 1970s when this was happening. And basically what happened was the administrative law judge, he did not accept the FTC attorney's findings of market saturation, basically saying that, in a nutshell, just because there's market saturation, if there's no market saturation everywhere, then there's no market saturation. So essentially redefining what that term meant. So what Amway did was they said, okay, well, FTC has shown where there's market saturation in 5 states. And then they were like, well, they put some recruiters on the stand who said, oh, well, I'm in Missoula, Montana, and I'm able to find people. Or I'm in, Arizona, and I'm able to find people. So but that's not what FTC wasn't saying. There was saturation in Missoula, Montana, or anything. So they sort of changed the definition, and the judge just agreed with them based on that, saying, oh, well, there's no such thing as market saturation really here, because the market has to be saturated everywhere, which, as we know, would be virtually impossible.
Yeah,
but there's also, it gets a little deeper than that. FTC Commission upheld it. They actually did find against Amway on vertical pricing as well, because they literally had DeVos, which that name sounds familiar.
Yes, I was gonna bring that up, but go ahead.
Yeah, DeVos is literally on tape saying, oh, well, we have to don't put this in our manual, or else the FTC is going to come down on us. It literally says it on tape, so they couldn't find against him. But the thing is that, so the co-founders of Amway were J. Von Andel and DeVos, which is Betsy DeVos's father-in-law. And so J. Van Andel also was the head of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which, if you know anything about the Chamber of Commerce, that's actually not a government body. That is the largest lobbying group in the United States. Actually, probably I would say they're actually. I did hear on The Dream where they said that group does more lobbying than Blue Cross, ExxonMobil, and the real estate lobbies combined.
Wow,
which is a lot.
I just wanted to point out, because I don't think me as an outsider have never looked into, because I don't really care who the hell Betsy DeVos is married to.
Yeah.
But out of the siblings, there was Cherry, Cheri, because, we're pretentiously rich people. Doug, Dan, and Betsy is married to Dick.
Dick DeVos.
Yes.
But DeVos was head of he was the Republican finance chair. And they actually had a meeting with Gerald Ford, who had just become president at that time. And all three of them, from Michigan. Gerald Ford was the Michigan representative before he was vice president and eventually president after Nixon resigned. And this is while they're being investigated by the FTC. Just had a private meeting of a president, and all of a sudden they're not from the Republican Party, and all of a sudden they're not a pyramid scheme. So a lot of people do point to that, and the fact that Amway was founded by these very, very powerful people.
And it's funny because, I've heard of Amway for ages, but I have actually no idea what they supposedly sell.
And they did point to this. They were like, oh, well, we're not like Holiday Magic or Fruity Beauty or selling girdles or anything weird. Like, look, Bob Hope is doing ads for us. And that was an actual thing. And they call themselves the American Way Company, and they had a different perception. They weren't doing weird stuff at their meetings like Holiday Magic. They were like, oh, well, we're good Christian people. And Amway still has a foundation where they give a lot of money to the Heritage Foundation, the Federalist Society, and focus on the family. So
gross.
Yeah. So Amway is very much tied into religion, and so evangelical culture. It's not just a Mormon thing, although there are a lot of Mormons that do get involved in multi-level marketing companies. A lot of evangelicals, or your more mainstream evangelicals, do too.
If you buy into the idea of prosperity gospel or the secret, which basically the secret means whatever you put out into the universe is what you'll bring back. So if you want lots of money, then you just have to really believe that you deserve lots of money, and then you'll get lots of money, kind of thing. And so I can see that, because it's, if I really believe that I'll get eternity in heaven, then I'll get eternity in heaven. It's a very similar way of looking at things. So I can kind of see how that translates into somebody who has a propensity for that kind of religious-based thinking would also think, well, if I work really hard and recruit lots of people and sell lots of this product, then I'll make lots of money as well. And it doesn't always work that way. I mean, I've known
It rarely does.
many people, like the probably the MLM that I'm most familiar with would be Avon, because everybody sold Avon when I was a kid. Like my mom sold it, my next door neighbor sold it. We bought it all the time. Like I have all kinds of stuff left over from when I was a teenager and whatnot of Avon stuff, Avon jewelry. You know, I even have a coffee mug that was a Valentine's special back in the 80s. It's like a white, it's for Valentine's Day. It's a white coffee mug, and it has like a white teddy bear dressed up like Cupid on it, and it says "I love you very much," and it came with like a little stuffed bear in it. And like we're talking like, I don't know, 1984 or something like that.
Yeah,
But
it's been around a long time.
I still have that shit. And I'm thinking, like, when we talk about market saturation, Avon's been, like, I don't know how long. Amway's been around for a long time too. It says, oh, founded in 1959. I don't know. But I mean, I know Avon's been around forever. And so you can imagine if you only make money, you know, if you've been there longer, somebody who today says, oh, I'm going to start selling Avon today, like how realistically are they going to make much of anything? I doubt it.
Yeah, that, and also I feel like people are becoming kind of more aware, but then there's also these, like you were saying, you were surprised that Avon was categorized as a multi-level marketing company. I do feel like people are, because they do remember like their mom selling Tupperware or their mom selling, and you know, their aunt, and they don't, and they're not like, my mom's not a scammer, and I'm not saying the people who sell it are. I mean,
no,
usually,
not at all. And
they're not. They're usually the ones that are being scammed. Usually,
I looked it up. Avon's been around since 1886.
Yeah, that's one of the oldest ones. Now, I don't know if they always were a multi-level marketing company, all the way back to 1886, but it's just absolutely crazy how, you know, Mary Kay and all this stuff, you know, people I feel like are more skeptical of like the things like Herbalife and the It Works and, you know, those things. But I feel like with these, they're maybe less because it is these memories that people have of, oh, well, my aunt sold, you know, Mary Kay.
I can actually remember going to a Tupperware party circa like, I don't know, 1977, 78. With my mom, and I still have actually my two favorite containers for traveling cakes and pies are ancient pieces of Tupperware, and it's good stuff. Like, it's not even like they're selling a shitty product, it's a good product.
Tupperware, yeah.
Tupperware is high quality stuff. Avon, hit and miss. I've had over the years when I don't think when I was in university, there was a girl selling Avon. So I have bought it myself briefly, but 90% of the time was my mom buying me stuff when I was a teenager. But there was good stuff that came out of there, and there was shitty stuff. Like some of the perfumes were just nasty, but
yeah, and like there's one very popular makeup one right now called Unique, and their products, like from what I've seen from other like people who are really into makeup and stuff, it's just like it's just as expensive as some of the stuff that I own, but it's the quality is and the quantity, quite frankly, are just so lacking in the Unique products. And also a lot of these companies, yeah, it's the fact that you're not going to likely sell more, and they did develop in the 50s and the 60s because there's this idea of, oh, well, we can make women feel like they're being, you know, this sort of independent, sort of independent woman making your own money. And also you get to have these parties and you get to socialize with your friends, and maybe you don't usually get to do that much. And this, I feel like, is what makes it very attractive to the evangelical and Mormon communities, because you can make money, but also you have this pressure to also stay at home with your kids instead of
You
getting
are
a
still
job.
being stay-at-home mom if you're having a Tupperware party in the evening. And you can bring, like, I got dragged to the Tupperware party when I was a little kid. So it'd be like an evening play date. Bring all your kids. They all have fun. You try and sell Tupperware to all your friends and hopefully make a bit of mad money that you can go and buy yourself something.
But really, you made money. The thing is, you didn't really necessarily make money off of selling the Tupperware to your friends. It was, the people who obviously own the company are making most of that money. But then it's the fact that you're trying to get
Uh-oh. You froze.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're trying to get your friends to sell Tupperware as well, is really where they try to encourage you. And that's what makes it a multi-level marketing thing. And that's why they're like, I'm selling a product. I'm not just telling people to sign up for a thing, but really you're trying to recruit people into selling a product.
This reminded me of when I first got involved with the Calvinist group, and they had their what they called kids club. And it was like Sunday school, but on a weeknight. I think it was like on Thursdays or something. And they gave out like Monopoly money points. And the little kids, like, you could earn points for memorizing Bible verses and stuff like that. But guess what got you the most points?
Bringing a friend.
Bringing a friend. That's exactly what it reminds me of.
Yeah, and it's that whole, and there is a researcher, I think he passed recently, but his name is Dr. John Taylor, and he's at BYU, or he was at BYU, so that's what he studied. He studied these MLMs because he was like, well, I'm in the perfect place to do so. And so he actually he came to the conclusion that MLMs, a lot of them are designed to sort of emulate this Mormon sharing and proselytizing thing, because you're going door to door, you're gathering friends together, and you're in this close-knit community, and also you're more trusting of people in your community.
It would be parallel to either going on a mission or having like your home teacher come by, or having like family home evening,
or even a Bible study or something like that. Or, but instead you're like selling products, and you're trying to make money, and you're trying to tell your friends how to make money too. And you think that you're actually helping people, when really I think Dr. Taylor also found that 99% of the people who join these kind of companies end up actually losing money.
I've read stories of people that end up with like thousands of dollars of product in their garages that they
in debt.
Get rid of. And
they active sometimes what the companies will do, and they'll say, oh, well, this is to keep people from this is to keep people selling, this shows that we aren't a pyramid scheme, because we require our people to sell, this much product in order to keep active. But really, they don't care who's buying the product.
No.
So to stay active, people will often buy the product themselves and tell themselves, oh, I'll sell it later. I'll just get active. Another company that's notorious for this is LuLaRoe, which sold leggings. Very, very popular. And I see people just trying to dump product all the time, just basically selling these leggings for, super cheap prices, just so they can get rid of it, and just so they can make something back on it. And there's people who have maxed out credit cards, taken second mortgages on their home, because also what these companies all tell you is, much like religion, is if you can't do it, it's because you're being a negative person. People don't want to buy from negative people, and what you put into it is what you get out of it. And it's that whole self-blaming, self-hatred mentality that's instilled in there, where it's like, it's your fault. It's not anybody else. It's not, don't blame the company, or don't blame us for not giving you the skills to be able to sell products or to recruit people even. It's your fault. And it's designed on that, because it feeds into that self-hatred, self-loathing, and these people feel like, oh, if only I'm more positive, or if I work harder, or if I make more Facebook posts, then
likely to sit there and go, I need to reassess whether this is the right thing for me to do when they're told, well, you're just not succeeding because you're not doing it right. You're not trying hard enough. So they're not going to sit there going, was this a good choice for business? They're going to go, oh, what do I need to do better? And I need to work harder at this, and I need to invest more in this, as opposed to looking at it more critically and going, maybe this wasn't the best business decision.
And you can tell because a lot of times what they'll do is they will send these woo-woo messages to their, especially at these conventions and stuff. Well, they'll just do a lot of like, write down your goals, and that's all they'll do. They won't tell you how to reach your goals. They won't say, hey, this type of Instagram post is, has been shown to get more attention, or, something like that. Instead, it's like, oh no, you just need to be more positive, girl. You got this, kind of thing. Instead of actually telling you, here are strategies and teaching you how to sell a product.
Well, this is interesting. I was doing some Googling and I came across this guy, and it's called the online MLM community.com. So I don't know who this guy is. I haven't.
There's a lot of those that I've seen. So they basically, I think he's one of those people that people who want to be able to be successful in these type of company structures. There's even consultants who are like, I can make you the top like Mary Kay seller, or the top Pampered Chef seller, and everything. And it's funny that I'm laughing because your adult toy party MLM companies thing came up.
That's what I was Googling for, actually, because
one of them is, Pure Romance is the one I see. And again, it's one of those things where it's like women don't, especially religious women, don't talk about sex and stuff like that. So this is kind of a way for them to be like, oh, it's my time to talk about sex. But it's just like they're giving you cheap plastic sex toys that are very overpriced and end up making no money and going into debt.
Because like I've gotten invitations to go to these adult parties before, and I've never gone because I know where I like to acquire such things, and I just prefer to, I don't know, just doesn't, if it was the right, if I was free and I had nothing better to do, I might go just for shits and giggles. But I've heard of them, and I was kind of curious as just how I couldn't remember the name of the company that I'd been invited to before. So I was just trying to see, and there's at least 4 companies so if somebody invites you to a Fantasia home party, there's a good chance there's going to be dildos there. And we mentioned Pure Romance. I like Bedroom Candy with a K, K-A-N-D. That is,
I haven't heard of that one.
The most pretentious spelling of candy. Like that just screams porno flick, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And also like cheap, it's not overpriced stuff, which is a lot of this is.
And number 4, Intimate Tickles.
Oh, I hate that one.
That one just makes me think they sell like a whole bunch of different kinds of feather dusters.
It's just feather dusters.
Yeah.
Very niche.
Feather dusters and French maid outfits. That's all they sell.
Oh my god. Ew, I hate that one. I wouldn't even buy anything from a company called that, even if it wasn't like a pyramid scheme.
Now I'm curious. This could devolve into a, hey, what does that adult toy company sell?
Yeah, but they have them do these games and stuff, and so it's a chance for like women to get together and to have fun and stuff. And so I can see the draw in that, especially for women who are like stay-at-home moms and don't get to see people much.
Even like the Tupperware parties as a kid, it was great because I got to go and spend time with neighborhood children, because we were all rural families. Like we were all farm rednecks, right? So us kids we got to play with whatever siblings we had, and that was it, because nobody wanted to be driving us all over the fucking place for play dates. They didn't do that in the 70s. Was like, shut up and play with your brother. I got to do XYZ chores.
Yeah.
But so for me it was awesome because I got to get, and you love this, Morgan, the house that we went to, it was like somebody, my dad would go hunting with the husband. The place was full of taxidermy.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Like a kid, it's either like, I grew up around it, so for me it was cool. Excuse me. There's like a literal bear rug, like with its mouth open, with like, you know, faux tongue in it and teeth and everything. And I remember laying on the bear rug playing with its fake mouth because I was like, wow, it's got like a plastic tongue and everything. Cool. But it was a real bear rug and stuff. So, but that was cool for me as a kid to get out.
Yeah, and it's cool for a lot of people. It's just, it sucks that you can't just like get together like that for different reasons, or for maybe an actual company. Like, that's the thing. Like, a lot of these women are like, oh, I'm my own boss, or I own my own business. And I'm like, no, you don't own your own business. Like,
yeah,
you don't. That's not how owning your own business works. And then one of the comebacks I'll see a lot is, oh, well, all jobs are a pyramid scheme then, because your boss makes money off of what you do. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's how jobs work. And also, my job doesn't depend necessarily on like how much like people we're not trying to recruit people into the firm, you know what I'm saying? And also, you know, what I make hourly is what I make hourly. It's not depending on how much like product or services
you don't have an hourly wage in the MLM.
No, you don't at all. A lot of women, like, and it's particularly among women, you know, and I think that's a huge issue because, again, we talked about the stay-at-home mom pressure to be, you know, a stay-at-home mom, and people believing that, you know, going out and getting education, going out and getting a job, or going out and actually doing your own business, even if it's something like Etsy, is wrong, or something that you can't do, or it's comfortable to sort of like fall into this thing where it seems like there's already a structure. And also, it's like, oh, well, my aunt sells this, like, she wouldn't get involved in a scheme. And the fact is, like, a lot of people who do end up doing this, they're not stupid people, they're not bad people. It's just people fall into this sort of a trap for, I mean, very different reasons. Some people do it because, you know, they want to. A lot of people do it to make money. But it ends up, like, most of the time, 99% of the time, it ends up costing you money. Or if you do make money, you make like what, $200 a year or something. Like, it's not profitable. And there are some people, of course, who are making a ton of money off of it, but it's usually short-lived, and usually they know what they're doing. They're taking advantage of people. They know fully what they're doing.
Oh, for sure. I had to look. I looked up intimate tickles, and okay, so we have $240 for that thing.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's another thing. It's like their stuff is so overpriced.
I'm just looking at it going, I really hope that's not wood, because all I see are splinters.
It doesn't even say what it's made out of.
No, it doesn't. And I'm thinking that's kind of important because people have allergies to like silicone and stuff.
Yeah, and things like that. And you'll notice that happens actually with what I've seen with certain of these makeup products, with particularly unique, like with their mascara and stuff. I've seen like where a lot of people will break out, and you know, and a lot of these places, they all have very, very complicated return policies.
Oh, I bet. So. I bet. Like, it's not like you can just say, like, even with a Tupperware or something, like, obviously this stuff, you're not gonna, there should be a no return policy on this stuff, but But yeah, like even with Tupperware or something, I can just imagine you can't just go to the store and say, hey,
Because there's no store.
Yeah, there was a physical Tupperware store in town here like a year and a half ago.
I think what there is, I think some people, what they have done with particular Tupperware is they will be selling so much of it that they can actually start their own store. But I've only seen that with like products like Tupperware. I haven't seen where people are doing that with like anything really else. And then also, I don't see anybody making money off Tupperware, especially nowadays.
No, and the Tupperware store, it was there for, I don't think it was there a year.
Yeah, exactly, because you're not moving enough product or recruiting enough people,
like,
probably.
I still think Tupperware is a great product, and I have, like I say, I have some that's actually still from the 70s that I use regularly. But in today's market, you can go to Walmart and pay $3 for the semi-disposable stuff that you use for a while, and it, as far as the function of it goes, is the same. It's just that those are meant to be discarded, whereas Tupperware was built to last forever. So,
yeah, but even now, you can also find the kind that does last forever. It's like made by like I think Ziploc makes some now, Rubbermaid, like a lot of them. So yeah, there's options out there, but yeah, for the most part, I think Tupperware is the exception when it comes to like MLM products that people have even like really, or like even I've heard some with Mary Kay or Avon or whatever, but again, I think that with those, they're hit or miss. But these new ones, especially the one I'm seeing blow up everywhere right now, is essential oils.
yeah,
I find very interesting because it's kind of a combination of sort of it's an weird intersection of woo and then also like Mormons and evangelicals and then like pyramid scheme MLM type practices.
Yep.
So it's this weird trinity of things that you would not usually expect to see together, but yet there they are. To the point where I'm in some Facebook groups and we'll see people post things that these people will they'll use Facebook a lot to promote their products or sell it, and they'll say things like, oh, I just use this for when I'm sick, I just put essential oils in my soup or whatever, and it's just like, you're not supposed to drink essential oils ever, like,
oh, gross. Like, okay, I like patchouli just because I like the smell of it.
Yeah,
exactly. And so I have some patchouli essential oil that I will sometimes dilute with water in a little atomizer and use as perfume. But I don't ascribe any, it's not gonna, I'm not gonna fucking drink it. No. In fact, actually, too, I have some here because when I used to be a ghost hunter, remember we used to have a booth?
Oh yeah, but when you were a ghost hunter, yeah.
We often, our booth was often next to a booth that sold all kinds of essential oils and stuff. So I have one here, and it's called Head Relief. And but again, you're not supposed to drink it. It's the scent. It's got like mint and a bunch of other stuff in it that I don't know, but it smells wonderful. And it actually, like, I find that when you smell it, you just kind of go, ah, like it's a relaxing scent. So, but there's science behind that. Like, we know that smells can evoke emotions and memories and things like that. So there's something about this scent that I find pleasing.
Yeah, so, or like certain plants do have, medicinal properties. It's like when I put aloe on a burn or an itch or something like that. Like, just because it's a plant doesn't necessarily mean it's like woo-woo nonsense. Now, aloe vera doesn't cure cancer or anything like that, and people do go a bit crazy with it, but and you do see some of those people selling those products, and like I've seen with the plexus stuff too. I've heard like people make claims, they'll be like, it can cure your depression and your lupus and your thyroid problems and make you lose weight and make your blood pressure go down. And again, it's sort of this thing where it's like, if something's too good to be true, it is. But again, if people are saying that, they're being haters, or they're being negative, or they are just jealous of you, or is what these companies will tell people to keep them in the fold. Or because they'll be like, well, my friend was saying that it was probably too good to be true, and this, and they'll be like, oh well, she's just a hater, don't listen to her. And I've even seen where like people will completely ruin friendships too, because the thing is, you have to sell to who you know. So every time, so now instead of having your friends and family are all of a sudden your market target, which completely changes your whole relationship with them. People joke about the messages they get where it's like, hey hun, and it's like, I haven't talked to you since high school. And they'll even do the thing where they'll pretend they're interested in your life, or even you'll see with your friends, they'll just constantly be bringing it up and trying to pressure you to buy or sell for them. And it's very problematic, and people end up ruining friendships and relationships. Like on this podcast, listening to The Dream, this woman missed her best friend's wedding so she could go to a Limelight convention, which is one of those MLM makeup companies. So
that's not cool.
No, it's not. And I can't wait to hear the interview with her from later. But later we're going to drop that episode. But it's just that these are the lanes people go to because they're told, oh well, your friend would understand if she really supported you, she would buy your products and do this whole sister.
And would have been, I hope she didn't send any of that shit as a wedding present.
I hope not either. But yeah, and I see a lot of that too, like where people will try to say, it's particularly like I've seen where not a teacher, but like moms will try to like sneak in gifts to teachers and stuff, and they'll make it sound like they're being nice, but it's really like trying to get them to buy their products and stuff. They'd be like, oh, I'm giving you a sample of my essential oil, and it's, oh, here's my business, or here's my business card or whatever. And it's like, this is inappropriate and weird.
So what you were saying about Tupperware is one of the few products that sort of retains its value. Interesting though, with Avon, it sort of spun a whole new market for Avon collectibles. So they were kind of smart that way. So like I actually, oh shit, I don't remember the name of it now, but there is a red glass that they sold like before this is before even I remember my mom buying Avon. So we're talking like in the 70s, late, like early 70s. And they have like all kinds of dishes and but like, so the candlesticks they're beautiful, like a ruby red glass candlesticks, but the top, like where the candle cup is got like a plastic cork, and it has bubble bath inside the main candle. Oh, actually, my salt shaker. There we go. That's
kind of what it